Incredible billionaire discovers hidden life-changing truth after following hungry child home. Jack Harrington's life was a picture-perfect American dream: tailored suits, sleek cars, and a high-rise penthouse right in the heart of Chicago. He glided through the bustling streets like a king in his castle, all the while dismissing the struggles hidden behind the gleaming skyscrapers. But one sunny afternoon, everything changed. As Jack rushed to his favorite cafe, on the hunt for his next caffeine fix, he spotted a frail 9-year-old boy digging through a garbage bin. The sight slammed into him like a brick wall, breaking through the bubble of his indulgent world. Billy, with dirt-streaked cheeks and desperate eyes, desperately sought something to eat among the refuse. Jack's heart clenched. Just as he was about to turn away, something snapped in him. Before he could fully process, he found himself shadowing the boy, running past shiny storefronts and into a small, dilapidated apartment building wedged between the glossy facades of his privileged city. He had never even noticed this place before, a stark reminder that the vibrant facade hid a harsh reality just beneath the surface. Inside, he met Mary, Billy's single mother. She was a whirlwind of energy, trying to make spaghetti on a tiny stove while sorting through an overwhelming pile of bills. The smell of cooking filled the air, weaving a tapestry of warmth and love that contrasted sharply with the stress etched across her face. Jack couldn't take his eyes off her. Her determination echoed through the small space, where toys lay scattered among the papers, evidence of a childhood fighting for survival. Jack felt his heart crack open, a warmth spreading through him, something foreign yet familiar. The more Jack learned about their lives, the more he came to admire their strength. Mary juggled shifts at 2 different diners, her work punctuated by soft laughter when she played with Billy. Yet underlying the smiles were shadows of worry: bills unpaid, a tight budget. Jack entered their world, weaving himself into the fabric of their daily struggles. As he observed their resilience, the gaping emptiness of his own life began to engulf him. He realized, with dawning clarity, that he had become blind to the needs that existed in his very backyard. When Mary received an eviction notice, the rug slipped from under Jack's feet. His instincts told him to help, to swoop in with his wealth. "I can lend you the money, just until you're back on your feet," he offered, his heart racing with the urgency to assist. But Mary's reply struck like a lightning bolt. "We don't want charity," she insisted firmly, her pride shining through. In that moment, Jack felt the ground beneath him shift. It dawned on him that his good intentions missed the mark. He wasn't there to throw money at problems. He needed to grasp the dignity of people fighting for a chance. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by newfound empathy, Jack became a voice for the community, gathering neighbors as they planned to stand up against the exploitative landlord, a notorious figure who preyed on families like Mary and Billy. They came together, a melting pot of friendship and shared purpose, fighting against the unfairness that had long plagued their lives. Jack stood at the forefront of this makeshift army, and as he looked into the eyes of those he had once overlooked, doubts flickered in his mind. Would he stay true to this mission? Would he risk it all for the very souls he had ignored? The tension grew thick, leaving unanswered questions lingering in his heart like a bittersweet echo. Jack couldn't shake off the feeling that he had stumbled into something both beautiful and terrifying. The meeting in Mary's cramped kitchen had morphed into a community gathering. People began to arrive, each carrying their own burdens but also the hope that they could collectively change their fate. Jack stood up to speak, a mixture of confidence and trepidation coursing through him. The faces in the room were dimly lit but illuminated by a fierce spirit that burned brightly against the struggles they faced. "We need to unite," he started, his voice steady despite the knots in his stomach. "This landlord thinks he can break us, but together we can fight back. We deserve to live with dignity." Quiet nods and murmurs of agreement coursed through the room. It felt surreal. Jack Harrington, the billionaire who hardly acknowledged the world beyond his high-rise, now rallying a group of struggling families. As the evening wore on, he listened to their stories. Each hardship shared felt like a dagger in his heart, piercing through the illusion of his previous life. A single mother shared how she'd had to choose between paying rent and feeding her children. An elderly man spoke of living in fear of being evicted after decades in the same home. Each narrative made Jack realize he had been walking through life with blinders on. Despite his wealth, he had never had to endure such fear, such desperation. He could almost hear the whispers of his past, the shallow conversations in swanky bars and the hollow laughter at exclusive parties. Was that really living? This was life, vulnerable, raw, and powerful. Each story ignited a different spark within him, fanning the flames of his desire to help. With every word exchanged, Jack felt his resolve grow. What if he didn't just lend money, but helped create a sense of strength and community? Tension shifted to determination as neighbors began sharing strategies and ideas. They brainstormed ways to confront their landlord, considering petitions, protests, and even media outreach. Jack realized he could directly impact their situation, truly make a difference not by throwing money at the problem, but by joining them in their fight. As they made plans, a sense of unity electrified the room. Mary stood beside him, her eyes glistening with hope. "If we stand together, we stand a chance," she said softly, but her conviction resonated deeply with everyone present. Jack felt something he had long forgotten: purpose. He wasn't merely a bystander anymore. He was part of a movement that mattered. But in the midst of this newfound hope, he couldn't shake the flicker of fear igniting within him. What if he failed? Deep down, doubts clawed at the edges of his resolve. Years of bad habits couldn't be undone overnight. Could he overcome his past, his privilege, and truly stand for those he once so easily ignored? As Jack gazed into the motivated faces around him, he knew this was merely the beginning. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but for the first time, he felt ready to face them. But this fight would take more than just willpower. The landlord was ruthless, and there were forces that would not sit idle when pushed against. Just as the tension reached a palpable peak, Mary spoke again, her voice strong and unwavering. "Tomorrow, we start organizing. But first, we need to figure out who can support us. We can't do this alone." Jack's heart raced. An even bigger challenge awaited. Who would be willing to rally behind them? Would the friends he had once partied with stand beside him in this fight? As the night faded, Jack walked out into the cool city air, feeling more alive than he ever had before. But with this heartbeat of determination came a weight, a responsibility he had never felt before. As he looked up at the towering buildings, the shadows felt deeper than ever. Jack knew one thing for sure: his life would never be the same again. This was about more than just Mary and Billy. This was about a community, resilience, and a battle for dignity. But as morning approached, he couldn't shake off the thick question looping in his mind. Would he truly be able to hold the line when the storm hit? Or would he find himself retreating back to the safety of his old life? As dawn broke, painting the sky in strokes of orange and pink, Jack stood by his window, staring out at the city he thought he knew. The same skyline that once felt comforting now seemed daunting, charged with unfinished business. The weight of the night's revelations settled on his shoulders. Each face from the gathering flickered in his mind. Determination filled the space where doubt once lingered. He grabbed his phone, scrolling through contacts, seeking anyone in his circle who might lend a hand. A part of him hesitated, wondering if they would even care. Would they understand the challenges these families faced? He took a deep breath, trying to shake off the doubts. It was time to put himself on the line. After an hour of brainstorming, Jack settled on a plan. He'd throw a fundraiser, a party to raise awareness, a chance to rally support for the community. He envisioned vibrant banners and passionate speeches echoing in a gorgeous hall filled with genuine voices. But his heart sank as he thought of the guests he would invite. They lived in a world of privilege that felt worlds apart from the struggles of Mary and her neighbors. Nevertheless, he wrote down names. Friends from the business world, old college buddies. He could flip this around, make them see what he had seen. It was risky, but it was a start. He needed to bring them into this reality to show them the faces that had transformed his own view. With each name he scrawled down, a flicker of hope ignited. Maybe they would see this as more than just an event. Maybe they would realize that justice extended beyond boardroom discussions. Jack's excitement built as he thought about the momentum this could create. They would rise together. They had to. As day turned to dusk, Jack's phone buzzed with a message from Mary. "Any updates? We're all counting on you." The simple text pushed him to act. He had to share his idea. Promising a follow-up call, he rushed to draft an email inviting friends to the fundraiser. The words flowed, transformed by the energy brewing within him. He wanted them to feel the urgency, the necessity of the cause. He painted images of struggling families, stories of resilience and determination that could change their perspectives. Once he hit send, the anticipation felt electric. But worry followed closely, whispering doubts about how his world would intersect with theirs. Would they dismiss it as just another rich kid trying to play savior? The next day arrived faster than Jack anticipated. He awoke with thoughts racing, a mixture of excitement and dread. Attending the community meeting felt like stepping onto the front lines, ready to confront the landlord's indifference. He dressed and headed out, determination pulsing through him. Upon arriving at Mary's kitchen, the atmosphere felt charged. People gathered, the air thick with anticipation. They shared stories, each one bringing them closer together. Jack watched as the group, both filled with dread and hope, manufactured courage. The transformation was contagious. "Jack," Mary called from across the room, a spark igniting in her eyes. "We need to know how you're planning to support us." Jack took a deep breath, stepping into the space. He spoke with conviction, recounting his idea for the fundraiser, weaving together the tapestry of resilience, positivity, and strength that the community had shown him. Their faces reflected belief but also concern. Would it be enough? Just as the discussion picked up momentum, the door swung open, and an elderly woman walked in, eyes scanning the room. Jack recognized her as one of the tenants bringing her own grievance against their landlord. "Is this the fight back I've heard about?" she asked, her voice commanding yet soft. Jack felt the room shift, an undercurrent of energy flowing through. This was her home too, her voice needing to rise. He only nodded, feeling that the true weight of the movement was circling like a storm overhead. In this now electric moment, Jack felt a surge of resolve. He realized he wasn't just talking to friends anymore. He was speaking to a community united in their struggle. But just as hope filled the room, Jack's phone vibrated in his pocket, drawing attention. He checked it and his heart sank. It was a message from his lawyer. "We need to talk. The landlord is preparing to fight back harder than you think." Jack looked up, the instant fear palpable in the air, tightening every chest. Would they have the strength to withstand the pushback about to come? The question loomed, heavy and daunting, echoing in his mind. Could they hold the line? Or was this just the beginning of a much larger battle? As the gravity of the message settled in, Jack felt the air thicken around him. Everyone was looking at him, hopeful but uncertain. He could see fear in their eyes, mixed with the flickers of determination that had ignited the room just moments prior. Jack's throat felt tight. Yes, he wanted to inspire them, but how could he do that when the very foundation of their fight was being threatened? He raked a hand through his hair, feeling a knot form in his stomach. This wasn't just about him anymore, this was about their futures, their homes. Glancing around, he spotted Mary, her gaze steady on him. "Jack," she said softly, almost as if trying to anchor him in that moment. "What's this news? We need to hear it." He took a breath, feeling the weight of the truth. "The landlord is gearing up for a fight," he said, his voice unsteady. "I just got a message from my lawyer. He thinks—" Jack hesitated, searching for words. "He thinks this could get ugly." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Voices broke free, some filled with anger, others with fear. "What do we do?" someone shouted. We can't give up now. Another voice echoed. The tension escalated, hands clenching into fists. Jack knew he had to redirect this energy. Listen, he said, raising his voice to cut through the chaos. We've come this far. We have strength in numbers. If we don't stand together, we'll lose not just this fight but our community. There was silence, then a ripple of agreement, nodding heads. Mary stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. We need to prepare ourselves, right? Jack's heart raced in tune with the urgency spreading through the room. I'll get the fundraiser organized. It's more important now than ever. We can't let them scare us into silence. Someone yelled, let us make it bigger. More people need to know. The idea lit a fire among them. Voices of encouragement spread like a wave, driving out the shadows of doubt. Jack felt the energy shift again, the fear morphing into a fierce determination. If they could all channel this urgency, they could gather more supporters, rally the community, and push back. Let us plan this out, he called out, excitement sparking in his chest. He was stepping into his role as not just an advocate but a leader, a catalyst for change. We'll organize it at the community center next Friday. We'll have speakers, food, stories. Let us show them who we are. Applause erupted, voices mingling together, creating a rhythm of hope and perseverance. It was intoxicating, contagious. The elderly woman who had walked in earlier beamed up at Jack. You've got the spirit of this community in you, young man. We will stand strong. As they began planning, Jack felt his confidence mount. Each idea shared, each story told reinforced their bond. They were no longer just neighbors. They were a family fighting for their home. Yet, as the discussion carried on, Jack couldn't shake his earlier doubts. The fear didn't disappear. It lingered in the back of his mind. Would the fundraiser really be enough to combat the landlord's power? Would they truly be able to hold the line? As the meeting wound down, Jack caught Mary's eye again. What if he has more in his corner than we know? What if he is waiting for us to fall apart? The question rolled off his tongue before he could check it. Mary's expression shifted thoughtfully. Then we just have to prove him wrong. But we need to be prepared, Jack. We can't fight blindly. Her words resonated deeply. The fight was far from over, and if threats loomed ahead, they needed an arsenal of support and strategy. He realized then that this battle was going to be far more complicated than he had anticipated. With the determination still flickering in their hearts, Jack finally spoke. Let us make a plan. Tomorrow we'll meet again and we'll form committees, people who can help reach out to the media, speak to the community, gather resources. We will not back down. The excitement flowed around them again, renewed hope pouring from every face. But the unresolved fear still hung. As Jack closed his eyes for a brief moment, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning. The real question loomed, an ominous reminder of what lay ahead. Would they have the mettle to confront the growing storm, or would they unravel when push came to shove? With that heavy thought, Jack glanced at the group, and he knew they had to be stronger than they had ever been. The next chapter in their fight was about to unfold, and the stakes were higher than ever. The next morning, Jack awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside his window, their melody faintly optimistic despite the weight on his chest. He felt a sense of urgency coursing through him. He had promised the group more than just words. He had promised action. Pulling on a worn sweatshirt, he stepped outside, the crisp air refreshing against his skin. The sun peeked through the trees lining the street, lighting the way he had walked so many times before, yet it felt different today. This was no longer just about the struggle of keeping their homes. It was about empowering a community that had felt unseen for too long. As he made his way to the community center, he could see people stirring on their porches, young children swirling in laughter, and elderly couples taking their morning walks. Each face held stories and dreams, and Jack felt a swell of responsibility to protect that. Arriving at the center, Jack was greeted by Mary, the familiar spark in her eye signifying her unwavering support. I'm glad you're here early. We need to touch base before everyone arrives, she said, her voice steadier than his own thoughts. Absolutely. I want to make sure we're ready, he replied, heart racing. They gathered supplies off the tables, organizing flyers and pens, sharing ideas for speakers. Every bit of discussion flicked intensity like a flame, building anticipation. Soon, folks began to trickle in, each carrying their own fears but also their hopes. They talked amongst themselves, eager to do their part. Jack felt fortified by their presence, recognizing that it was the collective strength that would empower them. Yet the ominous weight threatened to resurface. The landlord's shadow was still looming, dark and thick. Time sped past, and before they knew it, the meeting was underway. Jack stood before the group, heart thumping, nerves tingling. He focused intently on the faces looking back at him, their expressions a blend of trust and uncertainty. "Today we are laying the foundation for something big," Jack began, his voice clear. "This isn't just about raising money. This is about building a united front." Cheers erupted from the crowd, but Jack kept his eyes steady. "We have to remember, this isn't just about fighting against the landlord. It's fighting for our families, our children, and our future." With each word, he painted an emotional picture of what was at stake: a brighter tomorrow. He shared statistics of similar battles, stories of resilience from other communities, reigniting a flicker of belief. Mary stepped up next, speaking passionately about their history, reminding them of the nights they spent together celebrating life's moments, the bonds they had built over years. "This community has seen struggles, but we've faced them together," she declared, her voice echoing in their hearts. The discussions flowed, ideas were exchanged, and a plan began to shape itself. They decided to call local news stations, spread awareness about their cause, get social media buzzing. They even reached out to local businesses for support. It was exhilarating, the thrill of creating change palpable in the air. But just as excitement was reaching its peak, a newcomer stepped into the room, a man dressed in a sharp suit with a stern expression. Jack felt a chill slide down his spine as the stranger introduced himself as the landlord's attorney. "I'm here to inform you that your planned events violate a few local ordinances," he stated flatly, the tension in the air palpable. The room fell silent, and Jack's pulse quickened. Was this an intimidation tactic? He scanned the faces around him, seeing disbelief and fear that flooded his earlier confidence. Before he could gather his thoughts, the attorney continued, "If you proceed, you could face serious repercussions. I advise you to reconsider." Mary's grip on Jack's arm tightened, her eyes wide. For a moment, the weight of their mission pressed down like a heavy blanket. Were they really in over their heads? As the attorney turned to leave, Jack realized that this was the moment that mattered. They could bend or confront this challenge with resolve. A fire ignited within him once more, but fear was entwined, creating a web of uncertainty. "Wait," Jack called after the attorney. "You think we'll back down just because of a threat? You don't know us." The tension crackled, and Jack felt the community rally behind him once more. But would this front be enough to face the looming storm? As the attorney walked out, Jack faced the crowd, breathing heavily. "This isn't the end. It's our first test. Going forward, they would need to be brave and strategic." The stakes were higher than ever, and Jack was left wrestling with his fear. The real fight was just beginning. Would they crumble under pressure, or rise together more united than before? Jack stood silently for a moment, the weight of the attorney's words hanging like a curtain of fog. He caught a glimpse of solidarity in the faces around him, fear mingled with defiance. The room buzzed with an electric mix of uncertainty and resolve. "All right, folks," he said, lifting his chin slightly, "let us talk strategy. We can't let this intimidate us. Our voices matter. We matter." His words ignited a fire within the group. Mary was already jotting down notes. "We should form a committee to handle outreach. Designate specific roles. Everyone can contribute. Even if we face setbacks, we need to maintain momentum." "Yes," someone in the back shouted, and the murmur of agreement echoed through the room. Jack felt his pulse steadying. The shared energy of the crowd was a balm to his anxious heart. "Let us split into teams. We'll need people for social media, others for neighborhood canvassing, and a few to reach out to local businesses." As they formed small clusters, voices rose in a hopeful symphony. discussing strategies and generating ideas. Laughter punctuated the room, and plans flowed like a river weaving through the branches of a tree, each path leading toward their goal. As the excitement continued to swell, Jack stood back for a moment, watching them work. It was a beautiful sight, his community coming together in a way he had only dreamed of. But then a thought crept in, clawing at the corners of his mind. Were they truly prepared? The attorney's warning echoed, a relentless reminder of the very real consequences they might face. Jack? Mary's voice broke through his reverie. You okay? He blinked, giving her a faint smile. Yeah. Just thinking, about the landlord? Don't let him haunt you, she said, her gaze piercing but understanding. We can't let fear control us. You're right, Jack replied, the flicker of doubt dimming slightly. But I just wish I knew what would come next. The unknown is heavy. Mary placed her hand on his arm, grounding him. We don't have to have all the answers. We just need to be ready to fight for what we believe in. Their eyes locked, and a spark of determination passed between them. Jack could feel the warmth of courage building, washing away the last remnants of doubt. Just then, one of the team leads approached with a concerned look. Jack, we've drafted a list of local media contacts and businesses willing to partner with us. But we have something else. What is it? The lead took a deep breath, his expression serious. We found out that the landlord's attorney doesn't just represent him in negotiations. He has connections with the city council. We need to be careful. Pain threaded through Jack's veins, but he took a moment to breathe. This was no longer just a fight about collective strength. It was a delicate dance, a chess match with pieces poised to topple. Let us tread wisely, he said, gathering the attention of the group. We'll need to do our homework on all of this. Stay informed. Anticipate their moves. They bonded over this new knowledge. A sense of unity swelled, the laughter replaced by deeper discussions as they all took the challenge seriously. Later, as the meeting wrapped up, Jack felt something shift within him. The initial fear from the attorney's warning had transformed into a tangible plan and passion among them. Tomorrow we hit the ground running, Jack proclaimed. We talk to our neighbors, inform them of our plans. If we want to change the tide, we need to include everyone. With renewed energy, they dispersed, clustered together, excited and hopeful. As Jack stepped outside into the cool evening air, the sunset cast a warm hue over the horizon. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning of a long, arduous battle. He glanced back at the community center, filled with the laughter of his neighbors mingling with nervous energy. He was ready to face whatever came next. But another thought lingered, the question taunting him. Would their unity be enough to confront the dark reality lurking in the background? Suddenly, he caught sight of someone lingering at the edge of the parking lot, a figure cloaked in shadow. Curiosity prickled at him. Who could it be? And what did they want? As Jack moved closer, he sensed that this was not just a chance encounter. Could this stranger alter the course of their struggle? Jack approached the shadowy figure, heart racing, the chill of the evening settling into his bones. The figure seemed to shift slightly as he neared, the outline becoming a little more defined against the backdrop of the dimly lit parking lot. What are you doing here? Jack called, trying to sound braver than he felt. The words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a young woman with bright eyes and disheveled hair. She looked no older than 20, clutching a well-worn backpack as if it were her only link to safety. I saw the meeting, she said, her voice trembling but fierce. I need to talk to you. It's important. Jack nodded, trying to take in her urgency. Okay, let's talk. What's your name? Clara, she replied, glancing nervously around the parking lot as if wary of someone watching. I live in the building across from yours. Jack's mind raced. He recognized that building, the one with peeling paint and broken windows. You mean the old Crispin Towers? Clara nodded, urgency coloring her cheeks. Listen, I know something about the landlord, something that could change everything. Jack's heart skipped. He motioned for her to follow him away from the parking lot lights. What do you know? Clara hesitated. I can't talk here. Can we go somewhere else? Sure, Jack said, leading her toward a nearby coffee shop that was still open, its warm glow inviting amidst the encroaching darkness. Once inside, they found a quiet corner. Jack sat down, watching as Clara took a deep breath. "Okay, I've been talking to other tenants," she began, her voice lowering. "Your landlord, he has been getting money from the city for repairs that he has not doing." Jack furrowed his brow, disbelief washing over him. "What do you mean? He has not using the funds for what he should. I overheard a conversation he has funneling it somewhere else, probably into his own pockets." Her eyes bore into Jack's, urgency turning desperation. "He has lying to everyone. I'm afraid he has going to do something worse once we organize. He'll try to push us out." Jack leaned back, the enormity of her revelation crashing over him. "Why haven't people said anything? Why didn't you come forward sooner?" Clara's shoulders sagged, and her gaze dropped to the table. "I didn't know how to approach it, but seeing you all together it gave me hope. I can't just let this go on anymore." Jack felt the heat of determination surge within him. Clara's fear mirrored that of many who dared to stand against the landlord's looming threat. "So what do we do?" Clara's face brightened with purpose. "We gather proof, evidence of everything. We need to create a petition. Draw in more support from the other tenants. Once they know, they'll stand with us." Jack nodded, excitement now coursing through him. "We can use social media to spread the word. If we get enough people to join our cause, yes." "Exactly." Clara's enthusiasm sparkled like fireflies lighting up the dark. But just as the weight of possibility settled in, a realization dawned on Jack. "But if the landlord finds out we're onto him, it could get dangerous." Clara grew silent, her eyes clouding with worry. The stakes were rising, and every small victory came with heavy risks. But something had shifted inside Jack. They had a chance, and they couldn't back down. "What about everyone else?" Jack asked, urgency building. "We need to bring them into this. The time to act is now." Clara nodded emphatically, her face set with determination. "I'll talk to the others in my building. You do the same. We need everyone to hear this." As they finished their coffee, Jack felt a swell of hope. Their unity was not just for themselves but for the future of their community. They were gearing up for a fight, and now they had a real shot at winning it. When they stepped outside, the cool breeze felt invigorating. "Let us meet tomorrow evening," Jack said, "and figure out our next steps." Clara agreed, her expression a mix of fear and excitement. But as they parted ways, a shadow flickered at the corner of Jack's eye. With dread pooling in his stomach, he glanced back, spotting the ominous silhouette of a figure watching them from across the street. Was it coincidence or a warning? Jack's confidence began to ebb, a new question clawing at him. Who else was paying attention to their plans? What would they do to protect their secrets? The battle against the landlord had just begun, and a storm was brewing on the horizon. Jack's heart raced as he turned his back on the street and began walking home, but the weight of the shadow still pressed on him. He quickened his pace, feeling an unseen tension radiating from the figure that was now fading into the night. Every crack of a twig seemed amplified. Each gust of wind sent shivers down his spine. Upon reaching his apartment, Jack shoved the door closed behind him, locking it with a swift, clicking sound. He leaned against the door for a moment, taking a deep breath to steady himself. He'd just been handed a mission, a fight he could never have anticipated, and now the danger felt strangely real. Clara's words echoed in his mind about the landlord's deceit. Determination replaced his earlier fear. He couldn't let the landlord continue his tyranny. After all, this fight was bigger than just a few tenants. It resonated with the lives affected, a sense of community crushed under the weight of greed. Jack pulled out his phone and typed a quick message to a few friends from the building. "We need to talk. There's something you all need to know." He hesitated before hitting send. Would they understand the urgency? Would they care enough to rally? His finger hovered over the screen, and just before he pressed the button, he felt a surge of hope. If they could all unite, they might have the power to hold their landlord accountable. He sent the message and watched the dots bounce back as his friends replied quickly, some confused, but most intrigued. Feeling a bit braver, Jack paced his small apartment, bouncing between thoughts of Clara and the shadowed figure lurking outside. Was it someone sent by the landlord? The thought twisted in his stomach. He knew he had to keep his focus on the plan they had set. Images flooded his mind of gathering the tenants. Sharing Clara's discoveries, it was a morbid thrill to imagine them standing together, united against a common enemy. He could practically see the petition, names written in all kinds of handwriting, each signature a small act of rebellion. As he prepared for bed, his mind wouldn't be quiet. Just as he lay down, the soft buzz of his phone pulled him back into reality. It was a notification from social media. One of the tenants had shared a post. Anyone else upset about the constant leaks and lack of repairs in the Crispin Towers? We need to do something. Jack's heart raced. It was perfect timing. The murmurs were starting, the tension building. But then came another notification. This time a private message from Clara. Meet me earlier tomorrow? I'll show you something important. Curiosity tinged with dread flooded him. What more could she possibly know? As Jack's eyes grew heavy with sleep, he realized he had ventured into an unknown that was more intricate than he'd ever expected. Unforeseen dangers lurked, but if Clara had more proof, they might finally have the leverage they'd been searching for. And then he remembered the shadowed figure. Could they be watching even now? His heart thudded with uncertainty, and sleep quickly eluded him as he pictured what the next day would bring. As the dawn slowly crept in, Jack's resolve grew stronger. He might be stepping unwittingly into a dangerous game, but he felt it in his bones. The fight was on. The following morning, the chill of uncertainty lingered as he readied himself for their meeting. But deep within, a burning question kept him propelled forward. What exactly had Clara discovered that might change everything? Jack woke with a knot in his stomach. The sunlight streaming through his window felt almost mocking amidst the turmoil swirling inside him. He rubbed his face briskly, trying to shake off remnants of sleep and dread. Clara's mysterious message loomed over him, each word like a weight on his chest. He dressed quickly, choosing a simple shirt and jeans, his mind racing with possibilities. What could she have found? Was it enough to galvanize the other tenants? Or were they just walking into a trap? The morning air greeted him with an unexpected bite. He took a deep breath as he stepped outside, the world still hazy and quiet around him. His feet moved almost instinctively towards the coffee shop, the gathering point. Each block felt longer than the last. Time played tricks on him, stretching out under the anticipation. As he entered the shop, the rich aroma of brewing coffee enveloped him like a warm blanket. He scanned the room, spotting Clara at a corner table, her brow furrowed in concentration over a stack of papers. As he approached, a mixture of excitement and nervousness coursed through him. She looked up, her expression shifting from concern to relief upon seeing him. "There you are," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as if they were sharing a secret. "I was starting to worry. What did you find, Clara?" Jack asked, urgency lacing his tone. He felt the weight of their shared mission pressing down on them both. She flicked her gaze around the shop, then leaned in closer. "I've been digging into the landlord's past. There are things that could put a serious dent in his operations. We might actually have a case." Her eyes sparkled with a determination he hadn't seen before. "It sounds like we need to get this to the others," Jack replied, his pulse quickening. "They won't believe it until they see it." Clara slid a few papers across the table, revealing documents with revealing details. Building records, complaint logs, and shocking accounts from previous tenants. He's been skimming money off repairs. And worse, there are files about. She stopped, her voice barely a whisper, harassment complaints. Jack's stomach turned at the implications. This wasn't just about leaks and repair delays. This was deeply personal. It was a betrayal of trust, and something needed to be done. "Let us get the others in here now," Jack urged, already pulling out his phone to call the tenants. Clara nodded, her confident demeanor urging him on. Together, they began tapping into the community, filling the shop with anxious energy. As tenants trickled in, Jack could feel the excitement mounting. Curiosity, fear, and hope melded in the air like a thick fog. When everyone finally settled down, he shared Clara's findings. Some gasped, others nodded solemnly. It was a mixed bag of responses as disbelief shaped into contemplation. Jack could sense the shift. They were beginning to realize the power they held when united. Suddenly, a shockwave rippled through the group when someone remarked, "Isn't he this dangerous? If he finds out we're digging into his business." The anxiety was palpable. Collective eyes darting around the room as if the landlord might walk in at any moment. "Then we make sure he doesn't." Tino, Clara interjected, her voice strong. "This is our fight and we need to prepare. We have to be smart about it." Just as Jack was about to rally them further, a loud crash interrupted. The door swung open violently, and a figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, tall, menacing, cloaked in the shadows of the shop. Jack's breath caught as the room fell silent. Every pair of eyes turned towards the new arrival. The figure stepped forward, and Jack's heart sank when he recognized the landlord's face. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "I believe I asked you to drop your little investigations." Fear gripped Jack, but so did anger. The fight was no longer a distant goal. It was here, thrust into their midst. As the tension in the air thickened, Jack realized that this game had just gotten much more real. Would they stand together, or would fear split them apart? Faced with an ultimatum, Jack locked eyes with Clara and knew this was just the beginning. Yet one truth wrapped around their hearts. They had to choose now more than ever. Would they stand against this figure, or would they let their fears dictate their fate? In the tense silence, Jack felt the world around him blur. The landlord's grim expression practically crackled with intimidation. But at that moment, something primal stirred inside him. This was no longer just a battle for Mary and Billy. It was a fight for every person in that room, every single soul crushed under the weight of the landlord's greed. "Who do you think you are barging in here?" Jack thrust out, his voice echoing like a steel blade. "We have every right to talk about issues that affect our homes." The landlord's lips curled into a smirk, but Jack saw the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. A collective murmur rippled through the crowd. They could feel the electric tension thickening the air. "Look around you," Jack continued, heart racing but steady, fueled by the hope of those standing with him. "You've terrorized this community for too long. We're done being scared." The landlord's bravado faltered for a split second and Jack seized it. "We've uncovered how you've manipulated funds intended for repairs. Not only that, but people are done living in fear of you." Suddenly, Clara stepped forward, emboldened by Jack's rallying call. "You think you can silence us? You don't know our strength." The landlord's arrogance slipped just enough for Jack to see a crack in the facade. People around the room started their murmurs, voices of solidarity weaving their way through the collective resolve. Each whisper transformed into a pledge, a commitment to stand together, unyielding against the darkness. With the landlord's presence as a catalyst, they began to brainstorm action plans. Each person shared stories and strategies, granting Jack hope that this was truly their moment. A rallying cry rose amongst the group, sparked by Clara's bravery and Jack's determination, illustrating the strength blooming within them. "We're gonna file a formal complaint," someone suggested. "Put all the evidence we have together." "That's it," Jack exclaimed, feeling the momentum echo in his chest. "Let us reach out. We can get the local news involved. We can shine a light on every wrong he has done." As their spirits ignited, they set to work. Phone calls were made, meetings scheduled, plans were drawn. Jack felt elation wrapping around him like a warm embrace. This was their moment to rise. But as they moved with purpose, doubt started to creep back in. The landlord might have connections that could threaten them. Would he really sit idle as they fought back? Yet, standing shoulder to shoulder with neighbors who had shared similar struggles flicked that doubt away. Unwavering camaraderie bubbled up, creating a wall of support that seemed unbreakable. Just as a sense of victory sparked in the air, a troubling thought pulled Jack back. The landlord was dangerous, and Jack knew he would retaliate. As if reading his mind, Clara whispered, "We have to be careful. He won't take this lightly." Jack nodded, a twist of determination woven with caution in his heart. They needed a strategy. The next day, they gathered at the community center, their plotting more deliberate now. People brought evidence of neglect and mistreatment, photographs of decaying walls, emails documenting requests for repairs, and anecdotes about intimidation. Every piece of information transformed into armor, fortifying their cause. As they woven themselves deeper into plans, a strong camaraderie blossomed. Jack's heart filled as he watched Mary rally others, igniting passion. Together they drafted a petition and a clear message to the press and local officials. Together, Mary asserted, her words sincere, "We have the power to not just seek what's right for us but for all families being taken advantage of." Jack felt a wave of warmth wash over him. This team transformed before his eyes into something more, a family, fueled with fierce determination. Finally, every detail crystallized. "Let us do it," Jack declared, facing the crowd. "We're hitting the streets tomorrow. We will knock on every door, speak to every tenant, and we'll gather support." As they dispersed that evening, the once familiar streets now felt roused with purpose, alive with potential. Jack's mind raced as he longed for that resolute moment to confront the landlord again, but heavier thoughts lay weight on him. In the days leading to their activism, the landlord's retaliation surfaced, digging into their nerves. Graffiti adorned the walls of the community, now bearing threats and ominous signs warning them to back off. But the resolve among Jack and his neighbors only twisted tighter. When the gritty day for the rally arrived, Ground Zero buzzed with anticipation, the air palpable with hope. Neighbors clutched banners and signs, each decorated with messages of integrity and perseverance. Jack felt the collective heartbeat of their community, powerful and rhythmic like a drum. Standing on the makeshift stage, faced by a crowd of passionate faces, Jack felt fear wash away, replaced with an electrifying thrill. "We will not back down," he shouted to fierce cheers from the community surrounding him. "This is our home. We deserve better." He could see older neighbors nodding, their fists raised high. A wave of encouragement erupted, spreading a powerful fire through the crowd, surging towards their landlord's looming fortress. As history began to weave itself anew, the shadows from the landlord's earlier intimidation melted away. They faced him head-on, refusing to retreat, fueled by the truth and the tenacious spirit forged in unity. At the apex of the rally, just as victory seemed inevitable, police sirens wailed behind them. Jack felt his heart lurch. The world had been watching, and now they'd come, yet Jack stood steady. This wasn't the end. In that moment, standing arm in arm with Mary, Clara, and the whole community, Jack knew they were redefining more than just their fight against a landlord. They were carving a path towards dignity and empowerment for all families in their city. For the first time, Jack didn't feel like a spectator in a fairy tale. He was a creator of his own story, a story founded on compassion, resilience, and ultimately, resistance. Each heartbeat echoed a brand new beginning. As the sirens faded, cheers ignited into the atmosphere, laughter, hope, raw determination, the air thick with the anticipation of change. Standing together with his neighbors, Jack knew they'd inspire others to rise. They would remind everyone that when they stood up collectively, they not only formed a community strong enough to face injustice, they inspired the world to see, feel, and act. This was just the beginning. Now, what else could they achieve together? And with that, they were no longer merely tenants, they were a force of nature. You need to subscribe now to see how this incredible journey unfolds. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Let everyone know that change is happening. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring end. Your thoughts matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. The revolution starts with you.